Howdy. In 2017, I was working at a call center job, and it was not going well. I was sitting in my car at lunch break, and I knew that this job was not going to last. So once I figured that out, I just took the rest of the day off, had a nice drive to myself. And on that drive, I listened to an album. An album that I respected, of course. An album that I liked, even loved, but I was never in love with it. But during this drive, for some reason, something just clicked. And once the album concluded, I had an epiphany. I had just listened to the greatest record that Metallica has ever released. And that record is number 1 on our top 10 albums of Metallica, Ride the Lightning, released in 1984. Your top tracks are as follows: Trapped Under Ice, Creeping Death, and The Call of Ktulu. Ride the Lightning takes our number 1 spot in the top 10 albums of Metallica. And like I said, I was never in love with this album, always loved it, but something was just missing. And then 2017 happened, and all of a sudden, I just fell in love with it. And with each subsequent listen thereafter, that love became enormous for this album. And very good reason why. Let's go ahead and talk about that today. My name is TJ Stevens, and this is Ride the Lightning. Let's go ahead and kick things off with Fight Fire with Fire. It's pretty evident right off the bat that Metallica has grown immensely with their sophomore release. The opening is a gorgeous acoustic piece that mirrors Battery, or should I say Battery mirrors Fight Fire, where we have these building harmonies that build up to, again, a heavy assault. Only the difference in this song as compared to Battery is this is done in a major key, which the vibes of that, it sounds very happy, and it's a little bit off-putting to go from Kill 'Em All, and then the first thing that you hear next from Metallica is happy acoustic chords. And already people were calling them sellouts just for using the acoustic guitar. They didn't care how it sounded, just for using that bitch in the first place. They were sellouts. So ever since 84, Metallica sold out. It's fucking awesome. But don't you worry, because that mood is not going to last very long. Whenever the song kicks in, it kicks the fuck in. It's one of those big ass, comical boots from cartoons. It kicks your ass. Fight Fire with Fire kicks your ass, and it sets the tone beautifully for what you can expect for the rest of the album, even with, the juxtaposition of that opening acoustic intro. This spells it out right here, what you should expect as far as like tempo goes, the sound they're going for, and the themes for this album, and a lot of the lyrics that are tied in with these songs. For example, Fight Fire with Fire is basically about the end of the world and the world's impending doom and whatnot, and doom is a very appropriate theme for this album. We'll get more into that, but Fight Fire with Fire, it's a blistering track, especially on the drums. Get used to me saying that. Lars is going pretty hardcore with this album, but Fight Fire with Fire, Battery is kind of like the upgraded version of Fight Fire. That's how I always thought of it, but it's still more than enough, holds its own in a fight, so to speak. It's just a bitch to play. But that's what we should expect from this band at this point. So Fight Fire with Fire, hell of a way to open the album. I can't think of a better track to do so. Coming up, we have Ride the Lightning, our title track. Now, this is where the themes of the album are highlighted for me. Ride the Lightning, you can basically interpret it as somebody on death row about to get the electric chair. It's more so just the fact that, you're stuck in a situation where you have nowhere to go. You don't even have a choice, but you know that the end is near, or the dreading result that you're trying to avoid is about to happen. And that's Ride the Lightning for you. On Rock Band 2, this was downloadable content, and it was one of the very few Metallica songs that was DLC, so I swapped this up pretty quickly. And let me tell you, no matter what instrument you're playing, this song seems to be quite a trip. Even the drums, which are not going insanely fast, this time around. There's still some intricate parts that can trip you up. They tripped me up whenever I was trying to play it, whether it was on Rock Band or, an actual drum set. There were still some parts that I had to look out for. When it comes to guitar, just look out for the entire fucking song, because this is a pretty intense song. And I mentioned before about Kirk Hammett's one of his hardest solos. I think Ride the Lightning is his hardest solo. Even whenever I hear him play it live, sometimes they struggle with this. It can be a downright struggle to play this solo section, and for good reason. It's insanely difficult, and I know that's pretty evident because I tried playing this solo on Rock Band on the guitar, and I'd always fail at it every time. If I didn't have star power saved up, yeah, I was dying. So I got first-hand experience, some type of pseudo experience there. But yeah, Ride the Lightning, it's a monster of a track. And we can also credit one Dave Mustaine for this song, as this was one of his creations. I didn't mention him nearly enough in my Kill 'Em All review, practically none, and his influence on that. So I want to give the floor to Dave Mustaine here, and his influence of the first two records, especially with Kill 'Em All. Maybe that's why I don't really dig Kill 'Em All as much as most people, because I don't dig Megadeth or Dave Mustaine's songwriting that much. I still fuck with them, still fuck with like Peace Cells, still fuck with Rust in Peace, of course. But just as a whole, just not my cup of tea. You know what I mean? But whenever it comes to Ride the Lightning, I think that there's a perfect mix of Dave Mustaine. Because whether personal feelings aside, Dave Mustaine was part of that Metallica sound that got them noticed in the first place. His influence cannot be ignored. And on Ride the Lightning, they were still using some of his material, which is fucked up, but it really helps accent this album's strengths. And that's why it becomes so apparent to me why this album is number one on the list. Perfect mixture of Dave Mustaine's work. Sucks that he doesn't get enough credit for it, but it is what it is. After that, For Whom the Bell Tolls. What can I say about For Whom the Bell Tolls? This is a must play for any concert they have. They have to play For Whom the Bell Tolls. There is not a single second of this song that is not memorable, that is not legendary. I mean, fuck. Every time that I think of this song, I'm always reminded of the live performance. A Day on the Green, you know which one I'm talking about. I don't even need to post a picture. You know which one I'm talking about. Cliff's bass intro of this song is it's beyond iconic. It's one of the first things that you learn to play, whether it's bass or guitar. It's just, well, at least for me, it's one of the first things I started noodling with back whenever I was first learning. And that just complements well for whenever the track starts going. I always love whenever Cliff, he starts it's hard to explain, but he starts the chugging intro before the actual guitars, like before it goes dun 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 dun. He's doing that, and he's kind of like jamming that with Lars, and then the guitars kick in. Fucking love that part. That guitar solo, even though Kirk is basically playing the same thing for like 16 bars, it always gave me struggles because you have to just be consistent with it. But it's a very nice exercise for, light solo work. Still sounds pretty good. The theme of the song is about war. It's about, kind of being in the midst of battle. And James does a pretty terrific job in putting that display in your mind. The words, "Hear the silence so loud," always sticks with me, especially live, because he adds a nice motherfucker right at the end of it. Just sounds incredible. So you take everything that I mentioned, you just keep on adding to it until you get to that amazing outro, and you got For Whom the Bell Tolls. If you have not heard this song before, please tell me to shut the fuck up, stop this video, and go listen to it. It's that important. Okay, probably not that important, but it's a damn good song, and I like it quite a bit. Another song that I like quite a bit, I actually love quite a bit, it's Fade to Black. Fade to Black, the lyrics of this track, if you don't already know, has to deal with the premise of suicide, and that resonates with me for more than a few reasons. But it's always nice to have a song and you hear that people share the same thoughts that you do whenever you're struggling. It's a very nice outlet. If writing those words down yourself don't work, I like to fall back to this song because those are words that you feel like you've written before or you've thought of before. This song is just it's that impactful for me. It's that impactful for a lot of people. But that's not the only important quality of this song. It just happens to sound pretty damn excellent as well. Again, we have a acoustic guitar intro. It's in the key of B, I think. It's not really important, but basically James was stuck writing this intro and he needed a way to get from B to A. And he didn't know quite how to do that, so here comes Cliff Burton to show him because Cliff is, classically trained in music theory, or at least, he knew a lot about it. And what you have in that intro after the acoustic guitar part, or, that first half, and then it goes into the verse riff, that little buildup right there, Cliff was responsible to get from, in this case, from point B to point A, funny enough. But yeah, he just another example of how important he was. Just the little things, A bridge may not be the longest thing in the world, but it can connect two pretty big pieces of land. You know what I mean? A tale of two sections whenever it comes to this song, for sure. You have that soft melodic first half, but then once we get the distortion going, man, it just takes on a new life of its own. It really does. And what was that excellent first half, it just becomes even more stellar. And even the guitar parts, those solo leads, just those little lines, they get stuck in your head. And anytime that a guitar lick gets stuck in my head and it feels like it's an actual voice, man, I love that feeling. I really do. What more can I say? It's Fade to Black. It kicks ass. Go listen to it. So another song that kicks ass, that kicks so much fucking ass, dude. Oh my god, it's Trapped Under Ice. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Metallica is the only band to play on every single continent in the world. Yeah, Antarctica too. They did not play Trapped Under Ice in Antarctica. Fuck this band. I hate them. Just kidding. Trapped Under Ice though, fucking love this song. Really, really like this song. This was one of the songs that during that little drive in 2017, this one really jumped up in my favorite Metallica songs. And you know what? It's not even like these guitar parts or these vocal lines are some of my favorite pieces of music from this band, but all together, all at once, man, it's just a nice composition. Really enjoy this one. It's fast as fuck. Lars is pretty much playing double bass the entire song. I know I've said that like 2 or 3 times already, but I actually mean it this time. I mean, geez, the only time he really stops is for a couple of measures between verses and choruses, and the part in the middle, which just happens to be actually one of my favorite pieces of composition. Whenever you start introducing those gang vocals, when they start saying "Scream from my soul," "Fate mystified," hell, forevermore, good God, yes, inject that shit straight into my veins all day. But don't let that confuse you. The rest of the track kicks ass as well. Trapped Under Ice. It's a top track for a reason. What's not a top track with me, and what's really not a top track with the band itself, is our next song, Escape. Okay. The definite low point of the album. The worst song of the album because this song was forced. It was forced. There are 2 different stories that I've heard. One was the label was pressuring them to make another song because the album wasn't long enough. But there's also a different story where they wanted to make a single. Like if the radios asked the band for a single, they had Escape ready and they would showcase that to them. Except this song wasn't released as a single, so what the fuck? Either way, the band hates it because it's not authentic. They were really forcing with it. Cliff Burton is actually on record, on tape, saying that he hates Escape, which breaks my heart because I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all. That's what kind of made this album, funny enough, Escape was the difference maker. That's what made this album jump up to number one, because Escape being its only low point, I can accept that more than Leper Messiah. Like, I just get more enjoyment from Escape. Maybe that's a contrarian in me. I don't know. But yeah, Escape, it's, whenever I do say it's the worst song, it's obviously, it doesn't sound bad. I don't think it sounds horrible. It's just not authentic, or not as authentic as you would like it to be, because you're still creating something, right? You're still making a piece of work, but the intentions were not the same as the rest of the songs, but when it comes to the audio side of things, I dig it. I dig what they were throwing down, and the attempt of a catchy chorus. It's not exactly going to be an earworm for the rest of the day, but you can appreciate the attempt. There's some innocence in that chorus, and that innocence can only be produced by a young songwriter. I remember those days. I miss them quite a bit, but damn, who knew Escape was going to tug at the heartstrings like that? But yeah, Escape, you're either going to like it or you're not. If you say it's skippable, it's fine, but I think it's the weird ass cherry on top of this grandiose sundae, and that's funny because I don't fucking like cherries. The song Cherry kicks ass though. All right, after Escape, we have Creeping Death. The last time that I asked my mom what her favorite Metallica song was, it was Creeping Death. So from here on forth, her favorite song is always going to be Creeping Death. I don't care if her taste in Metallica songs is changing. Fuck it. It's always going to be Creeping Death. So yeah, I always associate this song with her, which is funny whenever I'm thinking about the lyrical themes of this song and having to do with, what is it, the 12 plagues or something like that? I think I'm getting that confused with no, there was only 10 commandments. Hold on. Yes, the 10 plagues of Egypt, blood in the Nile, raining frogs, locusts, all that good stuff. James, like I mentioned, he grew up religious, so this was very much forced on him, but he translates all that texture very well to an audience that, is not familiar with that world. He makes it more accessible to the listener. And it's not just the way he translates that text, but just, the song overall. And honestly, how many ways can you really translate die being shouted at the top of their lungs during that section? You know what part I'm talking about. Creeping Death. Yeah, I haven't even talked about how the song sounds. It's great. It's wonderful. It's one of my, not just because it's my mom's favorite song, but it's just that damn good. Great exercise if you want to practice down picking, because James is just the fucking master of down picking. This is a good way to get started. Play the Creeping Death, the verses, or just the whole intro. Basically, just play Creeping Death on guitar if you want to get good at down picking. You know what? Just do yourself a favor and learn the song on every instrument, because it really is that fun. Despite the gloom and doom nature of the track, of course, Creeping Death, one of the best Metallica songs of all time. I don't think I'm breaking news with that one. It's great live. It's great no matter how you slice it. Listen to it right now, twice. And finally, we come to our closer, The Call of Ktulu, a monstrous 9-minute instrumental as your closer for the second ever album that you release. The balls of this band. Now, this is not my favorite instrumental from the band. To Live Is to Die still has that honor, but this is my favorite closer, just for the sheer audacity to end things like this. And it's a pretty appropriate use of the word epic. That's the best way to describe this song. It's epic, and for an instrumental, it tells a story. I don't know how to interpret, like, how the band intended for it to come off as. I mean, it's the Call of Ktulu. What the fuck else do you expect? But because it's instrumental and you don't have vocals to rely on, everybody is going to paint this picture a lot different than they would a normal song, because it's less of a song and more of an experience. The best way that I can put it into words is just like you're at sea and there's a big ass storm, big ass being, and it doesn't look too friendly. So I think that's one kind of common thing that we can all paint in that picture. There's got to be some type of big ass thing in the distance. If not that, just have it drizzle a little bit. There's got to be a little bit of rain. if nothing else. But yeah, this song always reminds me of Rain, and it always reminds me of the album cover, the legendary album cover of that electric chair. It's not Ride the Lightning, funny enough, because whenever I think of the Call of Cthulhu, for some reason, I just think of Blue. Listen carefully for Cliff Burton in the background. It's subtle, but he's actually doing some pretty wild bass parts with that wah pedal. Just complements the sound immensely. Another compliment to this track is Dave Mustaine's work. This is one of his other contributions to Ride the Lightning, and I thank him for that. I think the remnants of this became Hangar 18, but again, don't quote me on that. Either way, still appreciate the work that he was able to put forth when it came to this instrumental, because it had to work. It really had to work to be the closer, to justify that. And I would love to be a fly on the wall for those discussions back in 83, 84, whenever they were recording this album. Fun fact, they only spent 3 weeks recording this record, which just, blows my mind. 3 weeks, and it's the best work they ever put out? Are you serious? Just fucking nuts. Call of Cthulhu, like I mentioned, would love to see the discussions on how that came to be the closer and what they were kind of discussing. I guess that's all it can be, right? Either the closer or the opener. And imagine opening your second album with a 9-minute instrumental. Yeah, that would have been fun. I guess you could say its fate was sealed, and it had no choice but to end things. And you know what? For my money, it's the best closer Metallica has ever written on the best album that Metallica has ever written. And that was Ride the Lightning, coming in at a pretty breezy 47 minutes, 26 seconds. I've always said that 45 minutes is the perfect length for an album. I feel like you can get enough at what you need to say in 45 minutes. This album being at 47, hey, you're going to hear no complaint from me. And I believe that's a big factor of why this is number one for the top 10 albums of Metallica, because it just flows so seamlessly. There's not a skippable track, in my opinion. There's not a skippable track on this album. Every song demands your attention, requires you to comprehend the words and the composition on display here. It really grabs you, it takes you for a ride, kicks your ass, lights you up, right? And then it just drops you off at the end of Call of Cthulhu when Lars is hitting those loud ass floor toms that sound like timpani drums. If you know what I'm talking about, those big ass concert drums. It sounds like that. And once everything concludes and you hear that final note and you're just sitting there in silence, just like, yeah, you know what? This is the best album they've ever released. That's whenever I was just like, yeah, my favorite album's Ride the Lightning. Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets really are interchangeable, in my opinion. They can both be number one and they can both be number two, because it's equal for me. But some days I'm feeling Master of Puppets. Some years I'm feeling Ride the Lightning. That's how it's been for a while. Who knows? Maybe in 10 years I'm just like, what the fuck was I thinking? Master of Puppets all the way. But it's always going to be neck and neck with those two. They will be tied at the hip. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just that recently, Ride the Lightning, it's just been hitting. It's been hitting just a little bit differently than the rest. But yeah, we're done. I am Metallica'd out. I'm not going to lie to you. This is the most Metallica I've listened to in quite a while. So I'm gonna take a little Metallica break for just a little bit. Doesn't mean you have to, though. So go ahead and give these albums a listen. Give Ride the Lightning especially a nice listen. It's going to take care of you. It's not too long either. So it's a nice ride. It's a nice ride. Let me know where it would place on your list. Would you place it lower? Or would you take it off entirely? As always, you let me know down below. And stay tuned.